Hi everyone, this is Grayson with PERRLA. Thanks for joining us today for our PERRLA 101 Getting Started webinar. We're excited to show you exactly how you can use PERRLA to make sure that your next paper is perfectly formatted from start to finish without you having to do any finger lifting or worrying at all. Now, just one thing that's a heads up, while we're going through this demonstration, we do have PERRLA support people who are here on the call ready to answer your questions. So if you have a question or something comes up you'd like to explore a little bit more, drop it into the chat with them and they're going to either answer the question for you in chat or they'll make sure to cover it after I'm done and wrapped up. But for that, let's get started. Today, we're going to cover three things. First, we're going to talk a little bit about what is PERRLA. How does it work, and how does it help you tackle your APA, MLA, and Turabian formatting? Next, we're going to take a look at actually how PERRLA works. You can use PERRLA in a lot of different ways, and today we're going to focus primarily on PERRLA Online as the first platform, but one of the great things you're going to learn is that PERRLA works the same way no matter where you're using it. So we'll also touch base really quick on Microsoft Word and our Google Docs and Google Chrome extensions as well. Last, we're going to talk about where you can get additional help. If you still have questions, how you can find those answers and how we can help you through that process. So, what is PERRLA? PERRLA is software that takes the hassle out of APA, MLA, and Turabian formatting so that you can put all of your time and your energy into writing a good paper, focused on the content of what you're writing, and you don't get lost and tripped up in the weeds of formatting those references, citations, headings, papers, documents, styles, the whole 9 yards. We do all that for you so that you can put your energy where it matters the most. Now, let's talk about how PERRLA helps you while you're writing. Unlike other APA, MLA, or Turabian solutions that are out there, where you still have to do the heavy lifting or are required to copy and paste stuff into your document, we're actually working in your document while you're writing, formatting the entire thing proactively so that it's perfect formatting through the entire process, not just at the very end. One of the other things that's really unique about PERRLA is that we format your entire document, right? There are lots of things that'll give you a mediocre reference that you're still going to lose points for. PERRLA does perfect references and citations, but it also will format the entire document for you, setting up all of your sections, styles, spacing, margins, headings, the whole 9 yards. We can also do optional stuff like tables of content, appendices, abstracts, tables, figures, and research notes as well. The last thing you really need to know about PERRLA before we start talking about how it works is that PERRLA is human built and human tested. We don't use AI. AI is just not reliable. It makes things up, and it may get you something that might pass as an APA reference or an MLA reference or a Turabian citation. But your professor, when it comes to grading, they're going to know that it's not right, and they're going to dock you points for it. So we made sure that we built it by hand, checking it visually with humans against the APA, MLA, and Turabian manual to make sure that everything we do is actually accurate from start to finish. Now, PERRLA can work in a couple different platforms. It can work inside of Microsoft Word, right? If you use the downloaded version of Word, which is the standalone Word application, or if you're using Word for Web, which is Word's version of Google Docs, PERRLA is there and working for you. We also have PERRLA Online, which we'll look at first, which is our own web application. It's kind of like Google Docs, where you write your paper in the web, and then you download it as a Word document to submit to your professor. We also now have Google Docs integration. This is brand new in the spring of 2026, and we're really excited to introduce PERRLA into Google Docs. There is some functionality that's still not quite up to speed with Google Docs because it's brand new, but we're working really hard to get it back out and fully working through this spring semester so that all of the PERRLA functionality you're expecting and love is available in Google Docs as well. Last, we have a Google Chrome extension. This allows you to create your references and take research notes while you're searching for references and research. That way you can create that reference once while you have it open, and then it's available for you inside of your PERRLA library while you're writing later on. No matter where you're writing with PERRLA, you always end up with a normal Word document that you can print, submit to your professor, upload to Blackboard, Canva, or Brightspace, or share with a friend who you may be working on a group project with, or even give it to your reading group or advisors when they're giving you feedback on it. You get a normal Word document like you expect and your professors. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how to use PERRLA before we see it actually in action. First, PERRLA is going to work pretty much the exact same way across all of these platforms. So if you're used to or you learn how to use PERRLA in one spot, you're going to know how to use PERRLA everywhere else. We don't need this to be a complicated, confusing software package, right? You need to know how this works so that you can move on with your day and you can get it formatted correctly in short amounts of time without having to spend any time sort of fiddling with the software like you may have to fiddle with an APA, MLA, or Turabian manual. Simple, easy, straightforward. You can write your paper in sort of 4 steps. That's how we talk about it. First, you're always going to create your paper, right? We're setting up that document for you. We're not expecting you to go through and set page margins and stuff like that. We're going to handle it. So create your document. That's the first thing we do to make sure that you're started off on the right foot. Then you can add or create your references, whether you're adding a reference from a paper you've created in the past, or you're creating brand new references that you've never made. We make it really simple to get those references added correctly to your document. Next, while you're writing, enter your citations, right? You get quotes, you get material, you got to cite it. Make sure that you are not plagiarizing, that you're giving due credit where credit is due, and that it looks right. PERRLA is going to handle that for you while you're writing as well. Last, you turn it in, right? You end up with a normal Word document that you can submit to your professor, and you don't have to worry about losing any points for your formatting, and it's going to look great and function exactly like you want. Okay, with all that said, let's actually take a look at how this works, and we'll start off in PERRLA Online and then jump over into Microsoft Word. Now, we're going to start off using PERRLA Online, taking a look at our online web application, how it works, how you can write PERRLA, and then download it as a Word document. PERRLA Online is a great platform for students who are new to writing or in bachelor's and early master's programs. It's going to keep you kind of in the straight and narrow, allowing you to only do APA, MLA, and Turabian compliant things, and allow you to create perfectly formatted papers without having to have the hassle of learning the ins and outs of Microsoft Word or other things. It's also accessible in a web browser, meaning that you can pick up on your paper anywhere where you're writing it. And whether you're in the library, you're in the office, you're at home, even if you're on your phone, you can access those papers and download them as Word documents wherever you're at. So whenever you sign in to PERRLA, that's through PERRLA.com, you're going to land on the home dashboard. This is where you can see a list of your recent papers that you've created, some of the classes you may have created for presets, and a list of some of the recent references you've added into your PERRLA library. Now, like we said in those 4 steps, the first thing is to create a new paper. So we're going to go up to Create New, we're going to choose Paper, and the type of paper we're creating. Now, PERRLA can create research papers. Those are your traditional essays with a title page, a body, and a reference section. It can also create discussion posts. Those are a body and a reference section on a single page so that it's easy to copy and paste into something like Blackboard or Canva or Brightspace. You can make a reference list, which is just a list of references. This is really good for PowerPoint presentation, poster presentations, videos, things where you're not going to have traditional citations, but you still need to show where your work came from. And then annotated bibliographies. This is a reference list that provides space for you to add annotations for each of the references added into the list. Let's start off, though, by making a research paper. Now, we can create student and professional papers in APA 7. You can also choose MLA and Turabian 9, the footnote style as well. All that's required here is the title of the paper. So we always like to write about Bigfoot, because we really enjoy our cryptozoological creatures here at PERRLA. Now, it will pre-fill your author and institution name from your profile. If you have a class, you could select it, and it's going to pre-fill your course name and number and instructor, and then a due date. As I said, all of this is optional and should fit the assignment's description that you get from your professor, but these are all the basic elements of an APA 7 paper. I'll say create research paper. That's it. PERRLA is going to build our document for us, setting up all the styling, headings, spacings, margins, elements, pages. It's all there and ready to go. So you can hear us have a title page and a body ready to start writing. Now, before we start looking at how we can actually start writing, let's take a look at the PERRLA user interface. And this is going to be the same when you're using PERRLA Online or Microsoft Word. You're going to start off and you're going to see a ribbon bar across the top here. This is where you can access all of the PERRLA tools you have available, from title page to I'm finished. The one that you'll spend most of your time in is references and citations, and you can see it's already open in the second major element of our UI, which is a side panel. Here you can see the references and citations panel with its own built-in navigation menu and the ability to create and add new references. One of the things you'll notice while we're working with PERRLA is that we really do try to keep this interface nice and clean, simple. It should be easier to use our software than it is to actually write an APA, MLA, or Turabian paper. And so we do nice, clean interfaces with big green buttons, with large instructions, so that way you can have confidence that you're getting things done the correct way. Now, we need to take and add that reference. Step number 2, add your references to your paper. As I mentioned before, every time you create a PERRLA reference, it gets saved to your PERRLA library. So let's add a reference I've made with PERRLA in a previous paper to this one first. I'll say add reference from library, and now I can search my library for that Bigfoot reference that I've created. We're going to add this one by G.L. Morris right here. And as soon as I do that, PERRLA is going to build the references page for us and add the reference into the references section automatically. Let's add a couple more, like this Aitken reference or this Lee one right here. As you can see, PERRLA is keeping the reference section alphabetized and organized correctly, doing all of that heavy lifting for us so that we don't have to think about it at all. Now, what if I'm needing to cite a reference that I've never used before? It's brand new. Well, in that case, we can go to create a new reference. Now, PERRLA can create every single type of APA, MLA, and Turabian reference that is possible. We use the manuals to build our reference engine to make sure that everything you can do inside of there is possible here inside of our reference engine and that it's accurate. It's not close, it's not near, it is dead on accurate for what you need. So you can see all of those options right here. But if you are creating what we call one of the big 3, a book, a journal article, or a website, you can search for that reference's bibliographic information using a piece of information about it. So for journal articles, you could put in a DOI number, the Digital Object Identifier. If you had a book, you could search by the author and title or the ISBN number, right, which is that number right above the barcode on the back of the book. And if you had a website, you could put in the URL. And we're going to go to the website and try to grab as much information off of it. Let's cite a journal article using a DOI, and I always keep a couple of DOIs handy here. And I'm going to paste that in, right? DOIs always start off with 10 point something, some string of letters and numbers thereafter. And I'm going to say search. PERRLA for DOIs is going to go out to Crossref, the largest DOI database in the world, and search for the reference's bibliographic information. As you can see, it came back with a journal article information. Now, there are variations of journal articles, right? And so before you dive in here, make sure that you take a look at, yep, it's a journal article. Did it come from a database? Was it a retracted article in press or advanced online publication? We can format that reference perfectly for each of those, as long as you tell us exactly what kind it is. But in this case, it is just your standard run-of-the-mill journal article and a single published article. As I scroll down, you'll see that PERRLA has pre-filled the reference form for us, putting in the author name, the article title, the journal name, publication year, volume number and issue, page numbers, and the DOI, and it gives us a live preview at the bottom. Now, as you'll notice, some of these fields are not filled out, and that's okay. If you don't have the information for a field, PERRLA will handle it and format it correctly anyways, but we also provide helpful text along the way to help you know what kind of information needs to go in that field. Because some of these reference types are kind of obscure, and it's helpful to know what it is you're actually being asked for. But for instance, the retrieval date here is empty because we only put a retrieval date for databases like UpToDate. If this was a journal article we pulled off of UpToDate, we would automatically put in a retrieval date for you, but because it's not, we're leaving it empty like the instructions guide us. Now I'll say next. Here I can still see that live preview or add any optional information. So perhaps I want to add the Bigfoot reference to this as well, so I can keep it organized inside my reference library. And now I will say create. PERRLA is going to build that reference for us. It's going to add it into the reference section, and it's going to add it into the references and citations panel on the side, ready for us to, step 3, cite it while we write. So let's go up here into the body. Let's say we have, this is a great quote, right? Well, we're ready to cite some information we pulled from the Millikan article. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to place my cursor right where I want the citation to appear, which is before the terminal period of the sentence. Now, in the references and citations panel, I will choose Add Citation beneath the reference I'm trying to cite, which is the Milligan reference. Add citation, and we'll say this came from page number, page 83, and I'll say Create Citation. That's it. That's all there is to it. PERRLA is going to build that citation for us, manage it, make sure that it is updated and correct every single time. Now, let's talk about one other way that you can do the create citation process that's just kind of fun here inside of PERRLA Online. I have another piece of data that I need to cite. I can just type a parentheses, an opening parentheses, and I'm going to get a drop-down menu where I can select the reference that I need to cite from the menu. I can put my cursor back there and keep on typing. Excellent. Now it's just a process of rinse and repeat, continuing to add citations, build references, and write out the actual body of your paper. Now, for the other elements that we have, there are other things that you can do, right? So you could add that abstract, table of contents, or appendix, right? If you have research notes that you've created for your references using the Google Chrome extension, you can access those here inside of research notes, right? There's one. I can just drag and drop that into my paper. It'll build that citation for me. I also can view an outline. That's where in the outline tab over here, I can take and organize all of my thoughts and ideas before I start writing. So if I have, point 1, point 2, point 3, and a conclusion, nice 5-paragraph essay, and I have something here I want to say, right? I can save that in my outline. And then when I'm in the editor, I can view that outline here and say, oh, yeah, I did this. Oh, I have something I want to say. Great. Let's take and drag that in there. Make sure I get that final punctuation. I think I deleted that by accident, but you can see I have an outline editor available for me. Text and heading styles, right? If I have, right, this was going to be point 1, I can highlight that and set it to a heading 1 or a heading 2, right? Organizing my paper. We can do figures and tables as well, inserting properly formatted figures and tables for your format. But what about when I'm finished? I think that this is perfect as it is, right? And I'm ready to turn this in. Great. Let's go to the final button here. I'm finished, the big green checkbox. When I click that, I have two options. I can download this as a Word file, right? Ready to turn in, or as a PDF. That I could also take and print, I guess. Now, before I turn this in, I want to show you one thing that's going to be different between the PERRLA version of your paper and the final Word document. Inside of PERRLA, and this is true inside of Microsoft Word and in PERRLA Online, you'll notice there are these little boxes around citations and around references. You probably saw it down here as well. These are called content controls. Inside of Microsoft Word and inside of PERRLA Online, these allow us to know where the content in your paper is. It allows us to make sure we know, like, yep, this is the first time this reference was used in this paper, so write out Centers for Disease Control in the citation. And then for all the other subsequent citations in the paper, we can make sure that we type just CDC because it is an abbreviation, right? This is how we use information to keep your citations and references properly formatted for no matter where they're at in your document. But when I download this as a Word document, right, it's going to remove those content controls for me, so I won't see them. My professor doesn't see them, and it's just normal, perfectly formatted APA text with our title page, our body, and our reference section ready to go and submit. All right, let's take just a look here, and that's all there is really for PERRLA Online, writing a paper. Right? You can view all of your old papers here inside of the Papers module. You can view your entire reference library here in the References module, as well as adding research notes and details and stuff like that for it. But let's actually go back into Microsoft Word. So I'm going to open up a brand new Word document. And here I have a PERRLA add-in installed through the add-ins store with PERRLA. Okay? With Microsoft Word. Sorry. I can go more add-ins. And here inside of the store, I can search for PERRLA, add, continue. That's it. It's really simple. Now I'm going to have a ribbon bar for PERRLA. And here you can see it's got really the same icons from left to right. Create a new paper through I'm finished. And inside that created paper, I can do all the different types of papers that I could do in PERRLA Online. Let's make that research paper, right? Let's say that this is a Bigfoot paper number 2. Right, there we go. We won't fill in the rest of that. I'll say create research paper. Now, because I have a blank empty document, PERRLA is just going to take and format this document automatically for us, adding all the correct APA elements, styles, margins, everything in place. And just like before, we don't have a references page yet, but as soon as I add a reference from my library, like that Milligan reference we created just a second ago, PERRLA is going to build that reference page for us and keep it up to date. Let's search for Bigfoot again. Add that Aitken reference. And you're going to be able to see that PERRLA keeps it organized properly, just like it would inside of PERRLA Online. These references also do have those content controls around them, just like they do in PERRLA Online, and so will the citations. If I add a citation right here, you'll see that it's going to be inside the parentheses, and the content inside of there does have that content control in it. So what do I do when I'm ready to turn it in? I go, I'm finished. I'm going to create a clean copy. This is a cleaned up version of the paper with all the exact same content, right? It just removes those content controls. So it's nice and clean and ready for me to submit to my professor. And that's it. That's the basics of using Microsoft Word and PERRLA together. There's a lot more in here that you can do. There's a lot of customization that you can do as well, but it's pretty straightforward and pretty direct. All right, so let's go back and talk one more time about this final thing we're going to cover today, which is how do we get extra help? In case you have questions about how PERRLA works, you get stumped, you get lost, you got a question about how a reference should be formatted or what rules it's really following or making sure that something is correct, we've got a US-based customer support team that is available every single day until 10 p.m. Monday through Friday, that's 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time, and Saturday and Sunday, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Time. You can email us at support@perrla.com, and we're going to get back to you quickly. I mean, really quickly. If you haven't heard from us within an hour by the time that you've written in and it's during our working hours, check your spam. Something probably got caught in the spam or junk filter and just didn't make its way all the way to your inbox. Most of the time when we're working, we're probably going to respond to you within about 10 to 15 minutes with some clear instructions on how you can get back on track or clarifying questions on how we can answer your question correctly. Anytime, all around the clock, you can always find additional help in our help center at perrla.com/help. We've got a lot of great articles and tutorials and videos there that are going to guide you through every part of the process of writing a paper. So, that's it. That's PERRLA. We want to help you write your papers and format them so that you get all the points that you deserve. You can spend all the time writing a great paper, focused on the content of what you're writing and not getting stuck in the formatting, and make it possible for you to ace that paper, get through that degree, and get to the next chapter of your life. As I mentioned, we're here. We want to help. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm going to turn it over now to our support team that's here on the line. If you have any questions that you'd like for them to dig in and show you a little bit more detail about how one of these features work, they would love to do that. So just unmute yourself, drop in, and say hello. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day and good writing.